think it's time some of us start to give the Angels their due.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get hold of me is to leave comments right here on YouTube. The trivia question, I got a lot of responses to the trivia question. And it's funny. Nobody got it right. In fact, none of you even apparently went on Google or baseballreference.com, the single greatest website in the history of the planet Earth, to get it. The question was pretty simple. The San Diego Padres have had multiple Hall of Fame closers, but they have only had one pitcher to ever save a World Series game. The Padres have only won one World Series game in their history. Who saved that game? Roger RMA says Trevor Hoffman. Great guess. He did pitch in the World Series for the Padres, but the Padres got swept, and Trevor Hoffman wet the bed. So it was not him. But more than one of you said, as Ken Mitchell, High Five I says, answer to the trivia question, that would have to be Goose Gossage when the Padres played the Tigers. Yes, indeed. Goose Gossage was the closer for the San Diego Padres when they went to the World Series, and they won their lone World Series game, which was game 2 of the 1984 World Series. But Goose Gossage did not get the save for that. Craig Lefferts, that colorful left-handed reliever who would run in for the bullpen and later pitched for the Giants and then came back to San Diego, got the save in game 2 of the 1984 World Series. A little bit of an odd piece of trivia that when I stumbled across it, I thought that might be a good little trick question. A good little trick question. Well, it's a good time to be a San Diego Padre fan right now. Why? Because they're the best team in baseball. They have a 12-3 record. And there's a lot of good things happening out west. The LA Dodgers, they're still pretty good. The San Francisco Giants, despite losing to New York today, are also pretty good. And guess what? There's another team in first place in the American League West. We're here, it's in mid-April. I know there's a long way to go. Taxes aren't even due yet. But 2 California teams are in first place, and neither one of them are the Los Angeles Dodgers. So some of the questions people were asking at the beginning of the year, do the Dodgers have a chance to be the greatest team in baseball history? Well, right now they have the third best winning percentage in their own division. So I would say no so far. But I have to just address something. For those of you who subscribe to this show, you know that I do my show here. I try to do it every day. I make sure you get at least 5 new episodes a week. Sometimes I do 6. But we also have the MLB Game Night show, which are recaps and of the games and everything like that. And that also plays on this feed. And evidently, some of those shows have been a little harsh on the Angels and the Angels prospects. I think when they did one of the roundtables, it was revealed that the podcast hosts who were involved in that were saying the least likely team who got off to a good start, the least likely team to continue it would be the Angels. And boy, oh boy, did your pal Sully get a lot of grief for an episode that I wasn't even on. DW250 said the Halo hate in this podcast was unreal. Maybe watch a game instead of getting caught up in the last decade. Okay. It has been a brutal decade, especially because they've lost one generational talent, and their other generational talent looks like he's in the back 9 of his career. But Silent E749 wrote a post on YouTube, which even J.R.R. Tolkien would have read and go, "Wow, you wrote a lot here." I kind of condensed it a little bit. It said, typical MLB type media. A dunk all over the Angels from the start. Typical locked on national media won't address the real problem with the confusing decisions. Artie Moreno is the problem. Okay, let the record show. In the offseason, I included the Angels amongst the teams that had a shot, albeit an outside shot, to make the playoffs. I also praised them for signing a bunch of major league players. I praised them for filling the holes with experienced players. Not that I felt they were all going to, click, but I always say if you have a hole and you can fill it with a major leaguer, you're probably going to be better off. And I did kind of sort of trash the Angels in game one when they got their butts handed to them by the Chicago White Sox. By the way, the White Sox are making life miserable for the Red Sox right now, but I digress. So I could be guilty of being against them at that point. But let's give the Angels a little bit of credit, okay? Granted, it's still very early in the season, but they are in first place right now. They're winning games they don't have to make up earlier. And let's see what's happened since that White Sox series. They took the next two games, and it was their pitching that did it. The Angels only scored 5 runs in that series against Chicago, but they took 2 out of 3 of them. And then their bats started to heat up a little bit as they went to the St. Louis Cardinals, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals. Oh, so they won their first 2 series. Granted, against a horrible team and against a team that might be rebuilding. So I can understand why some people would be, I don't know, not exactly overwhelmed by that. But then they played Cleveland in Anaheim, and they lost the first game, but they won the next two, including a 10-4 victory. Then they went off to Tampa to play in a minor league stadium, and they wound up splitting the first 2 games against the Rays and then blew the doors off the dump with an 11-1 victory to win the series. Off they went to Houston. Now, they had an early lead, but they wound up absolutely getting trounced 14-3. So what happened today? Today, the Angels won. And Mike Trout, who, by the way, leads the American League in homers right now. I know it's early, but it's nice to see Mike Trout. If you're just looking at his batting average, which you shouldn't do, but it's like, I don't know if he's still off to a great start. His OPS is already over 9, and he already has 6 homers, including the one he hit the other day. And Trout drove in 2 more runs with an RBI, a 2-run single today. And Tyler Anderson was throwing a no-hitter into the 6th inning. He was relieved once he let up a hit because he was piling up his pitches. He was at 95 pitches, and he let up 4 walks. But I give Ron Washington credit. He let him pitch until he lost the no-hitter. But what happened after that? Johnson threw a shutout inning, Burke threw a shutout inning, and Kenley Jansen, who I'm a little skeptical of at going to the year, but he's been borderline perfect. At least he hasn't let up a run this year as a closer. And so they won 4-1. And with that, if they win on Sunday, which is probably when you're listening to this, that would mean that the Angels would have won all of their series so far as they go on to play Texas in what should be the first of a very important series if they want to make a splash in the American League West. If you're a team where there's not a lot of expectations, you got to get out of the gate early. Now, where I do really agree big time with the reader who said that Moreno has been the problem. He's been the problem for a long time. He's the one common thing. They've had fabulous talent there. They had a potential Hall of Fame manager in Madden. No matter what, things started to fall apart. They couldn't put a mediocre team around Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. And that comes from the top. It would be fabulous if all this craziness that's going on regarding the stadium, a mayor who got put in jail in Anaheim, there's a weird thing going on with the land in Anaheim and the stadium, and what's the city going to do to repair that? Are they going to rename themselves the Anaheim Angels? I don't know, but there's no way the Angels are moving because there's way too much money to be made in Southern California. So they're not going anywhere. But it would be nice if Artie Moreno sold the team to someone and he walks away with billions of dollars, and you have a different management here. Or if someone else gets involved in the baseball operation. Moreno is the problem with the team. But so far the team is off to a good start. And if they win tomorrow and play well against Texas, then again, these are games they don't have to make up later. And there's a couple other things to note. Notice when I just did that quick rundown of the Angels doing this and that, they've only played 3 home games. They've been on the road. They've been going on the road playing all these teams. They haven't been home yet. Someone explain that to me. In early April, you're going to be in Cleveland, not in Anaheim. Now, I'm not a seer, but I'm going to predict the weather is going to be better in Anaheim than in freaking Cleveland in early April. I digress. The Kyron Paris, who I had never heard of going into this year, so far leads the American League in WAR. I'm not a huge WAR guy, but holy Toledo, he's slashing 419, 514, and 1,000 slugging. He has 5 home runs. Mike Trout has 6 home runs and has already got off that dreadful start, and he's already up to a 926 with his OPS. Solaire's not off to a great start, but again, he's hit a couple of home runs. Joe Adell has driven in a bunch of runs. Logan O'Hoppe, he's done about as well as you can ask for. But the real thing that's interesting is Jose Soriano has thrown 3 games. He's nearly throwing 7 innings a start. Tyler Anderson has pitched well, especially today. Kenley Jansen's been a rock in the rotation right now. Kyle Hendricks has pitched pretty well out of the rotation. He certainly hasn't let up a lot of run. And they haven't got the great starts from Yusei Kikuchi, but he can pitch well. In other words, do you know what? If they win tomorrow and they play well against Texas, and then they start coming home to play some teams, then this is exactly what you need from the Angels. Do I think this is 2002 all over again? No. Do I think that they're going to cakewalk? No. However, Seattle's off to a disappointing start. Houston's off to a disappointing start. And while the Rangers really do look like a good team, as of now, the Angels are playing a tiny bit better than them. So if the Angels are going to be a surprise team, and every year there's a surprise team, a good way to become a surprise team is to get out of the gate. I made that point at the beginning of the year, and I stand by that. If you're a team on the cusp and you come out blazing, kind of like the Angels have, then it's less likely that you're going to be selling at the trade deadline. And do you know what? A year where Mike Trout and company are playing meaningful games, that'd be good for baseball. Yeah, I know it's early, but what else are they supposed to be doing at this point? They're winning games. Isn't that the point? Hey, you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. There they are. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Now, this is my wonderful pistachio of choice. It's the roasted and salted and out of the shell. Because when I'm looking for a snack, I'm either teaching in my class or doing a podcast. I don't have time to take them out of the shell. And Wonderful Pistachio is a complete protein providing all 9 amino acid. And how these little green wonders, God, they pack such a protein punch. Now, this is my pistachio of choice. You may like it with the shell. You may like it with different flavors. They're all different choices. So get cracking and get snacking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. The Dodgers won their first 8 games, and everyone's saying it wasn't fair, and they're going to go on this gigantic rampage and everything like that. Well, the Dodgers, I don't want to say they've come back to earth, but since going 8-0, they are 3-5. And today got the doors blown off the dump by the Chicago Cubs. And Sasaki was, pretty bad today. But the main culprit was the bats. I was pulling this up here right now. The bats for the Cubs were just completely out of this world. You saw, and it was some late rushes there, but Michael Bush went 4 for 6 with 3 runs batted in. Carson Kelly homered twice, and he got on base 5 times. Amaya, he homered. He went 2 for 3, and Ian Happ, he got on base 4 times. And Kyle Tucker, who is going to go cha-ching, this potential free agent, he got on base 3 times. The Cubs. By the way, the Cubs are giant slayers right now. I don't mean San Francisco giant slayers, but they have played very well and smacked around the Dodgers. And the Cubs have been really the only team to put anything on the San Diego Padres this year. The Padres lost 2 out of 3 in Wrigley Field, and they've lost only one other game since then. The point I'm making is that phenomenal start that the Dodgers had, and they're not the best team in baseball anymore. The Padres are. And the Padres are kind of sort of doing everything right. Today, again, they weren't playing a great team. They were playing the Rockies. But when you play a team like the Rockies, you're supposed to win. And Kyle Hart did exactly what he was supposed to do. Kyle Hart, let up a bunch of runs in his first 2 starts, this time through 6 shutout innings. And then the bullpen leading right up to Suarez, who is really becoming an elite closer. He finally let up a hit today, but his ERA is still 0. And the Padres shut out the Rocks 2-0. The Rockies' star pitcher from their minor league, Dollander, pitched a good game today, but he got a tough luck loss. So with the Padres winning, the Dodgers getting clobbered, and the Giants lost too. The Giants got doubled up by the Yankees 8-4 after blowing them out in a rain-shortened game the other day. Give credit to the Giants, by the way, for keeping pace. No one thought they were going to keep pace, and right now they're alongside the Dodgers. And the Arizona Diamondbacks won to come from behind game against the Brewers. I mean, you forget the Diamondbacks look like a super talented team going into this year as well. So, I mean, that West, save for the Rocks, who poor Rockies. I mean, they've dropped 11 of their first 14 games. So this is not looking good if you're in Denver. But everything's going right for the Padres right now. And yes, I know some of the teams that they've been playing are not exactly world beaters. I witnessed one of their few losses when they lost to the Sacramento A's on Tuesday when I was there. And by the way, I'm going to address, a lot of you said some nice things about my on location show that I did in Sacramento, and I'm going to address that. Yeah, they played, the Rockies and the A's, and they played the Braves right out of the gate when they looked bad. But they're going to be playing the Cubs next, and the Cubs seem to be, handling the tough pressure. Then off they go against a bunch of competitors like the Astros are going to be contenders this year, and then the Tigers, and then the Rays, and then the Giants. They don't really have an easy spot in their schedule until the Pirates. And who knows, maybe the Pirates will play up to them. But, everything is going right for the Padres right now. They're not going to play at this level, and the Dodgers aren't going to lose 3 out of 4, whatever they've done recently. That's not going to happen often. But there could have been a real chance if the Padres came stumbling out of the gate and the Dodgers shot out the way that they did. I mean, the Dodgers are still 11-4, even with their recent, stubbing of their toe. And with that kind of a start, they could already have a 4 or 5 game lead if the Padres and the Giants, for that matter, didn't get off to such a phenomenal start. Here's something I find weird, and help me understand this. The Padres and the Dodgers don't meet until June. They do not. I mean, this could be a battle royale. I mean, I remember when the Red Sox and the Yankees were really tremendous in the mid 2000s, and every time you just sort of looked at the schedule and you circled the schedule for when they were going to play each other. Well, I'm circling the schedule, and it is until June 9th. June 9th is the first time the Padres and the Dodgers play each other. Now, between June 9th and June 19th, they play each other 7 times. So there's going to be a stretch where the two of them will be playing each other a bunch. And as the season unfolds, They will play each other in August, but then the last time they play each other is August 24th. So they don't play each other in April or May, and they won't play each other in September. That's weird. That's very weird. But um, you can't look away from this Padre team because everything is firing on all cylinders. Absolutely everything's firing on all cylinders. I mean, Tatis Jr., can hit a big home run and made a fabulous catch against the wall to finish the game up. Diaz is playing well behind the plate, and Manny Machado, when he's in there, things are clicking for him. Nick Pivetta threw a masterpiece the other day. Randy Vasquez has been solid. Hart, as I mentioned, pitched well today. And, Cease and King are off to kind of rough starts, but you know what? They're both talented pitchers and they'll dust themselves off. And that bullpen is, Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, of course, Suarez. I mean, you can't touch that. You cannot touch that. And so we will see. We will see what happens as the Dodgers are going to try to see what they can do against the Cubs. The Giants, if the Dodgers lose and the Giants win, the Dodgers can fall to third place. I know it's early, but for all the other teams in California who kind of giggle at any potential bad moments in for the Dodgers season, do you know what? That's going to be fun. The Dodgers, if you want to repeat, it's not going to be a pushover. And besides, how can Los Angeles compete against big markets like San Diego? Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, hey, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and streaming stuff, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't a budgeting app. It's not just that, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money, you start building wealth. And when I started using Monarch, I realized there was lots of subscriptions and things like that was chipping away at my available balance. Now, instead of lots of apps, you could use Monarch to check in on your finances, track spending, and even make long-term goals. And if you have a partner, you have a spouse, whoever you manage your money with, you know what? You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances. With Monarch Money, use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Now, the Sacramento A's beat the Mets today, and they played pretty well. They played pretty well. I mean, it was a well pitched game, uh, and Mason Miller came out and he was throwing gas as he always does. And the A's got a good performance from JT Ginn and Tyler Ferguson, and they got Wilson has just been tremendous. He's batting 368 with a 912 OPS, and Rooker doubled, Pareda doubled. It was a really good win for the Sacramento A's over the New York Metropolitans. And 10,133 fans were there this afternoon, and less than 10,000 were there on Friday. I got to point something out here. Capacity is what, 13, 14,000 in Sacramento? And unlike most of you, I've been to a Sacramento A's game. I witnessed it. It feels like a minor league game. It's fun. It's a lot of fun to go to a minor league park. And as I pointed out on the show, it's always fun to go to a ball game. And so if you're there, you go to a ball game, it's fine. It's a nice night. It feels like a Sacramento River Cats game or a spring training game. My cousin Dave said it felt like a spring training game watching it. Yeah, it does. Because it doesn't have a major league feel to it. And it strikes me as the novelty is already off in Sacramento. I made this point the other day, but there's already empty seats. I mean, these are attendance numbers you'd expect in Oakland. They could have stayed in Oakland and get 9,000 people there, 10,000 people there, and at least play in a, albeit a crumbling toilet of a major league stadium. But as Paul Radpour said, the Oakland Coliseum was a toilet, but it was our toilet. Yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, this is not a good thing, because I'll tell you another reason why it's not a good thing. The novelty should still be there. They've only played, it's what, 7 or 8 games in Sacramento, and the Mets are a team that has a fan base that travels well. I'm sure there's a lot of "Let's Go Mets" chants at this stadium. Here's the other thing: it was a Friday night and a Saturday afternoon, and it was a Saturday afternoon day game where it's not too hot yet. Those of you may remember, I went to a River Cats game last year on a July afternoon, and it was so goddamn hot I couldn't use my phone to record a podcast from there because it was overheating my phone. So this is an instance where you could have a day game and the weather is lovely in Sacramento and it's a brand new thing and they couldn't sell out the place. That's a huge problem, because when it gets hot, they're not, now granted, they are not scheduling a lot of day games in Sacramento, certainly not in July and August, but the nights get hot too. And you can't sell out the place in the first 20 games of the season of a brand new thing. This is not going to get better, especially if the A's are 6-9 right now, which is not horrible, but not great. And there are other very good teams in that division. So if the A's stink or are non-competitive, it's going to be a tough sell, because apparently the novelty of major league games being played there is not kicking in on an afternoon game, Saturday game, when the weather's really nice. And this is going to happen for a while. This is going to happen for a long time, because I said it before and I'll say it again. I've been doing a bunch of reading about it and watching some commentaries about it. How's that stadium going on in Las Vegas? Remember, it was supposed to be built in the first third of this year. Now it's been kicked to June. Do they have the financing? Do they have all the money? Do they have all the loans? Wasn't a giant part of what they were doing to fund the stadium was John Fisher was going to be selling portions of the A's ownership based on evaluation that was done in Fantasyland as like a $2 billion franchise or whatever. Have they done that yet? Have they gotten the loans yet? Have they secured it? Do they have a plan that has enough parking for everyone? And there's another thing. Obviously, tourism is going to be down all around America this year because, I'm not going to be political, but there's a reality. People from other countries are going to think twice about coming to America, even as tourists, because we're not projecting the image of being really friendly to people from other countries right now. That's not an opinion, that's the news. But the other thing is, again, I swear I'm not being political, but sometimes, like the tide, reality seeps into the world of baseball. All of these tariffs and all these things that are happening that are making the cost of this material or that material go up or down or whatever, you're going to need materials besides the money to raise, which I've seen. There's no indication the money's been raised. And they need to buy materials to build the damn stadium. Has the cost of the stadium stayed the same with all the volatility going on in the world right now? Are all the materials going to be domestically brought into Las Vegas, or anything going to be imported from other countries? Does the cost of the stadium, has that fluctuated? If everything goes right, and there's absolutely no reason to believe that it will, then there's going to be 3 years in Sacramento. 3, which is 2 more years longer than the Pilots were in Seattle, maybe, just maybe, a simple correction could be done that will cost the A's $0 and may actually get a few fannies in the seats. There were a lot of empty seats there when I went there. As I said in the video, I was able to walk pretty close to home plate and sit in a row of seats that were kind of sort of empty. You are not going to win over fans without allowing them to have some sort of identity with the team. Rebrand them now. Say we made a mistake. They're the Sacramento A's. You can keep all the jerseys and you don't have to reprint anything. They already have the Sacramento patches on there. Just allow the announcers to call them the Sacramento A's, have them listed in baseballreference.com as the Sacramento A's, have them listed in the standings as the Sacramento A's. How much money will that cost them? Again, you don't need to reprint anything there. Nothing. The cups already say Sacramento on them. Okay? But maybe say, hey, we're here for now. Right now, they're treating Sacramento as a person that Sacramento's letting you crash on the couch, and the A's are just eating all the food from the fridge and running their car to the point where the gas is empty, and they're not chipping in for food or for gas. They're letting you play in that ballpark. They're giving you a home for what is, I think, going to be best case scenario 3 years. I think it's most likely 5 if this Las Vegas thing is even ever built, and I will believe that when I see it. Then it's not a small thing, because you're seeing that fans are not reacting to it. And if they're going to not have a contender on the field and they can't sell out a minor league ballpark, this is going to look bad. And how is this going to look good if you were trying to sell off parts of the team to investors and say, hey, look at how good our team's going to be. Look what a great investment we're going to be. It's so simple to fix this. It just requires saying, yeah, we made a mistake. We made a mistake. And not one person would say, well, why are you doing that? Because it's factual. The Sacramento A's try to lure some of the fans who are there while you're there. I know the A's are in the business of alienating their fan base, but maybe, I don't know, try something else. That is going to lead us to the trivia question, which actually has nothing to do with the trivia question. But we were praising the Angels at the beginning, who could use new management for their own self. But the first player to ever win the Cy Young Award as a member of the Angels did so when the Angels called what stadium their home. You kind of have to know who was the first person to win the Cy Young as an Angel. What stadium did the Angels call their own when they finally got a Cy Young Award winner? Put the answers right down here on YouTube and follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. And be sure to listen to Locked On MLB Game Night every night all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night right here on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Giving praise to the Angels and the Padres and saying, hey, A's, the solution is just saying one city name. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.